In her book, she says the White House was broken. This after 2 years along a president who wasn't housebroken. But she only realized this after she stopped getting paid to defend it. But like Jake Tapper's book, it's a new genre of Biden tell-alls that should be subtitled, "I had no idea because I'm severely retarded."
If you thought Karine Jean-Pierre had mastered the art of dodging questions with a smile and a binder, think again, because Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly just turned that press room podium into a comedy roast stage. Gutfeld fired jokes faster than she could flip pages, while Megyn cut through the spin like a buzzsaw on overdrive. Karine blinked like someone hit her with a follow-up and forgot to hand her the script.
Why don't you talk to the Megyn Kellys of the world, who have literally voted until this last election, which put me over the edge on voting more for Republicans. But literally now I voted in 9 presidential elections. God, I'm getting old. And I voted, it was 4 and 4. 4 Dems, 4 Republican votes up until I voted for Trump again this last time. So it was 5, now 5 Republicans, 4 Dems. I've been a registered Democrat, I've been a registered Republican, and now I've been a registered independent for 17 years. That's what an actual political independent looks like. Not like somebody who worked for 2 Democrat administrations until they got the stank of desperation all over them, and she ran for the hills trying to pretend she knows what independence is.
Megyn dissected Karine's press performance like a scientist examining a frog with extra limbs. She did not just highlight the confusion, she mocked the circus. If Karine was auditioning for a political remake of Clueless, then she nailed it with confidence. One moment had Gutfeld losing it when Karine tried to explain inflation like a TikTok challenge.
All those applications you gotta fill out.
That's the thing, or
Would you think I meant vaginas?
ew.
Disgusting people. But now everyone says she's incompetent and lazy. You know, after they called me racist for saying that. That's not why I'm racist.
Nope.
Gutfeld could not keep a straight face as Karine described economic trends like they were horoscope readings. He leaned back and asked if Mercury was in retrograde when gas prices rose. Megyn leaned in and asked if the White House was now taking financial advice from fortune cookies. The room paused, but Karine pressed on as if reading from a birthday card.
But really, they're just jealous. These colleagues also played along with the hoax, saying that Joe was doing 75 one-arm push-ups while finishing the New York Times crossword puzzle all before breakfast. They're just pissed she beat them to the publisher's office and to the bank. I expect to see more of these books because of the lifeboats these rats will use to try and escape the shipwreck of the past 4 years. So KJP is now an independent, because apparently pretending to be apolitical sells better than admitting your last job was gaslighting America.
Megyn then questioned Karine on foreign policy, where the answers made even satire sound logical. Karine described a diplomatic trip like it was a spring break vlog. Gutfeld asked if they had souvenir t-shirts printed for every failed agreement. Megyn followed with a jab about selfie diplomacy, where substance gets filtered out.
That's how bad the stink is when one of its worst offenders is fleeing this rancid armpit called the Democrat Party. So should we buy her book? Well, only if your family and friends have a sense of humor. It'll make a great gag gift. You know, like fake dog or rubber vomit. Only the stench here, it's real.
The topic shifted to crime, and Gutfeld grinned like a man who already knew the punchline. Karine rattled off statistics as if hoping one of them would stick. Megyn tilted her head and asked if the numbers were real or just vibes. Karine kept reading while the room silently screamed for a commercial break.
Put a book, and her fans are already sharpening their crayons. And it's just what we need, a tell-all from the woman who spent 2 years telling everyone that Joe just had a cold and not rigor mortis. If the title hadn't already been taken, it should be called Art of the Steal. KJP also says she's leaving the Democratic Party. I say God bless her. Not many people have the patience to wait in a line that long.
When asked about the border, Karine spoke as if geography was a rumor. Megyn pressed again, and Karine responded with a word salad so tossed it needed dressing. Gutfeld asked if this was immigration policy or interpretive dance. The lack of clarity was louder than any answer she gave.
Karine Jean-Pierre reinventing herself as an independent. This from, it's everywhere, but this is just from the New York Post write-up, that she claims she's no longer a Democrat. She's coming out with a book, a memoir, hyping, says the New York Post, a, quote, broken Biden administration. They go on to say that it's a tell-all she's working on now, and it's going to be a look inside. Independent is the name of it. A look inside a broken White House, outside the party lines, due in October. Hachette, which is publishing it, says Jean-Pierre did not come to her decision to be an independent lightly.
Karine tried to recover by shifting to climate change. She described it like a personal mood swing rather than a global issue. Megyn nodded and asked if next week the weather would determine tax policy. Gutfeld pretended to check the forecast for policy changes, and everyone but Karine laughed.
In this book, she may focus her ire on figures aside from Biden. Quote, she has served 2 American presidents, Obama and Biden. She takes us through the 3 weeks that led to Biden's abandoning his bid for a second term and the betrayal by the Democrat Party that led to his decision. The tease goes, and she's going to regale us with a hard-hitting yet hopeful critique defining what it means to be part of the growing percentage of our fractured electorate that is independent, why it can be worthwhile to carve a political space more loyal to personal beliefs than a party affiliation, and what questions you need to ask yourself to determine where you fit politically. You've got to be kidding.
As the questions kept coming, Karine began flipping pages like she was looking for the emergency exit. Megyn asked if she needed help finding the section on reality. Gutfeld offered to lend his glasses just in case truth was too small to read. Karine smiled and dodged again, but the damage was clear.
When Republicans hate her, she's not in any position to be a connector of our 2-party system, and assuming she could be is just ego. It's so good. They're all ripping on her, some by name, saying how dumb she was, how she's a joke, and literally nobody's buying her ability to be an independent connector who somehow is going to heal the partisan breach. Stu, back to my original point when her soundbite was playing of how those were all lies too.
Megyn then brought up transparency. Karine responded with a metaphor that confused the room. Gutfeld leaned in and asked if the metaphor came with subtitles. Megyn followed by asking if honesty was now being outsourced. The silence after that was longer than any of Karine's prepared answers.
We have to say goodbye to Karine Jean-Pierre. I'm sorry, guys, but she's going. It's like, this is the way it's gonna, it's the one sadness of Trump winning, because let's face it, we're gonna miss her a little bit. I kind of missed her word salads. In fact, I'll start with the word salads just so you two will be feeling the pangs that I've been feeling. Here's a little montage of some of the best / worst of Karine Jean-Pierre at the podium.
It is hard for us to keep up with this president. What I see is a strong, resolute president. We're seeing these deep fakes, these manipulated videos.
By the way, used to make beer brewed here. It is used to make the brew beer here in this fire. Oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lakes.
Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Karine turned to healthcare and tried to sound firm but ended up sounding like a voicemail script. Megyn asked if the talking points were from a pharmacy receipt. Gutfeld added that if healthcare policy came with side effects, this performance was one of them. Karine stared ahead like a student who forgot the homework.
Now, she realizes she was carrying water for a man whose brain was as wet as his pants. Remember, this is the same broad who stared America in the face and said this.
Comments were made in that report about that, obviously about his memory that we don't believe lives in reality. 80's the new 40, didn't you hear? He is as sharp as ever. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith. And it's not true, right? The president wasn't wandering.
Is anyone in the White House hiding information about the president's health or his ability to do the job day to day?
Absolutely not.
He's the president of the United States. I can't even keep up with him.
When it came to student loans, Karine's answer made the concept of math cry. Megyn asked if forgiveness was based on feelings or dice rolls. Gutfeld suggested flipping a coin since that seemed more consistent. Karine's binder flipped again, but the clarity stayed missing.
Sciences. I don't have anything. I don't have anything. I don't have anything. I don't have anything. I just don't have anything. I don't have anything. We don't have anything.
Okay, we could have kept going because let's not forget when he thought that the dead congresswoman was alive. Where's Jackie? She was just top of mind. She was top of mind. That's what Karine Jean-Pierre tried to tell us. And the obsessive note reading, right? She could not do the job without reading for the first 2 years of it. She got a little better on that towards the end.
As the briefing neared its end, Megyn asked what success looked like. Karine gave a vague list of hopeful words without structure. Gutfeld smiled and said it sounded like a horoscope again. Megyn nodded and said the stars might offer more certainty than the administration. Karine closed her binder and looked ready to disappear.
I mean, of course, what she's referring to, Link, is the fact that she's black and she's a lesbian. Like, this is what the left celebrates. That's her history-making role that she hopes everybody will find inspirational. Like lesbian children were growing up all over the country thinking, I'm never going to be press secretary because I'm a lesbian. I mean, it's just so. What are we in 1950?
The curtain fell not with a MIC drop, but with a sigh of national confusion. Gutfeld and Kelly did not just challenge Karine's facts, they shredded the illusion that anyone was in charge. If the press room was meant to inspire confidence, it instead turned into a stage for political improved with Karine as the reluctant performer forgetting all her lines.